What's up YouTube, welcome back to another episode of the Boss Recap, where we rate boss battles in our favorite video games. I'm your host DMLX, and today we'll be slashing our way across time in Samurai Jack and Battle Through Time, a 3D hack and slash game based on the acclaimed animated series Samurai Jack. Battle Through Time was developed by Soleil, a secondary studio of the Japanese video game developer Valhalla Game Studios, and published by Adult Swim Games. Battle Through Time was revealed on August 21st, 2020, and serves as an alternative scenario that takes place during the show's series finale in its 5th and final season, after the show being cancelled way back in 2004, then revitalized 13 years later in 2017, with the series creator Genndy Tartakovsky returning as director, writer, and storyboarder for the conclusion of Jack's journey. The final season of Samurai Jack was received with universal acclaim from both critics and fans alike, with many praising the show's sleek visual style. Also, with the final season airing on Adult Swim, the show was able to embrace more dark, intense, and mature themes that wasn't possible to portray for the previous seasons since the show originally aired on Cartoon Network. However, there has been some criticism of the season finale's ending being a straight ripoff of the mecha anime Gurren Lagann. As seen when Jack and Ashi prepare to get married, Ashi abruptly collapses and fades away. And with her last breath, Ashi tells Jack that Aku's demise in the future prevents her from existing with Jack in the past. So, understandably, many fans were upset about this outcome and wish that Jack was given a happier ending after all he's been through. Thankfully, the developers of Battle Through Time make those fans' wish come true by providing a quote-unquote secret ending that shows Jack and Ashi at peace with one another that presents a more hopeful conclusion to the series. Now, the way this ending is unlocked is that players must collect all 50 corrupted Emperor's Common scattered throughout the campaign. That being said, looking back on the game itself, Battle Through Time was quite an enjoyable experience as one who grew up watching the series back in the early 2000s. As Battle Through Time plays like a remaster of a PS2 game in the best way possible. Sure, there are some funny looking animations and cutscenes and outdated level design, but overall Battle Through Time is a well developed game adaptation of the beloved animated series that's essentially a love letter to fans of Samurai Jack. Plus, the game is surprisingly difficult even when playing on standard difficulty, especially when you make it past the latter half of the game, as the gameplay heavily relies on having the player needing to know when to counter and dodge enemy attacks, and be properly equipped with a good number of items and materials when dealing with highly lethal targets. So, how challenging was it for Jack to defeat Aku once and for all? Again? Well, let's find out and recap the bosses. Now, the majority of the bosses in Battle Through Time pop up at the end of each mission, supplied with a large red health bar displayed at the top of the game's HUD. Additionally, all the bosses are characters who have appeared in the original animated series, with most of the boss battles taking place in medium-sized arena-like spaces. Some bosses you'll fight one-on-one, while others will have various henchmen to aid them in battle. Those type of bosses are the most annoying to deal with. The first boss of Battle Through Time is the SCOTSMAN. One of Samurai Jack's allies from the series, the SCOTSMAN was first introduced in episode 11, Jack and the Scotsman Part 1, and has been a fan favorite ever since. In Battle Through Time, you'll encounter the Scotsman at the end of the first mission as Jack makes his way through the swamp village. The reason the Scotsman attacks Jack is because he's being mind controlled by an amulet made from Aku's magic. This boss is a great setup for what's to come as you progress through the game, as the Scotsman showcases the basic concepts of dodging and countering enemy attacks. Next up, we have the giant beetle drones. Created by Aku's evil scientists, these large versions of the beetle-like robots are one of many within Aku's army, and are the most common enemy types Jack will encounter in the game. Appearing at the end of Mission 2 as you make your way up through the mountain section, Jack must fight two giant beetle demons at the same time. After defeating the giant Beetleborg separately and having Jack obtain and use one of its legs as a weapon, Aku decides to make the giant beetles extra thick by fusing them together, putting a whole new meaning to being double jointed. Moving on, we have Damongo. Also known as the Soul Collector, Damongo is one of Aku's strongest and most loyal followers, as well as the most recurring boss in Battle Through Time. Damongo appears to torment Jack a total of 6 times throughout the course of the game. Once in the Cave of the Ancient, Undead Cemetery, the prison ship, twice in the ruined city, with the final encounter taking place in Aku's tower.
Nope.
The strategy for each encounter is equally as simple as it is annoying. Defeat the enemies Damongo summons to his aid, hit the floating orbs, then the Soul Collector will be more vulnerable for a surge of strikes. So if you're a fan of Damongo constantly shouting about collecting essence like a Skeksis from the Dark Crystal, then this is the boss for you. Looking to bring the heat deep within the ancient cavern is the Lava Monster. First appearing in episode 10, Jack and the Lava Monster, this molten behemoth isn't just a ravaged being made of lava and stone, but was once a human Viking warrior cursed by Aku, who then sealed the cursed warrior away into a mountain, making him unable to pass on and join his people in Valhalla, the afterlife of where all great warriors reside in peace. Eventually, the cursed warrior learned how to manipulate and mold the earth around him to create a molten rock body-like shell he could use to move and escape his tomb. which led to the creation of the ancient cavern and drew in warriors from across the land to fight him, hoping that one would be strong enough to free him from Aku's curse. Looking to swallow Jack's soul at the end of the Undead Cemetery is the Hag Witch. First appearing in episode 30, Jack and the Zombies, the Hag Witch is one of many minions part of Aku's undead army, a very tricky adversary to deal with due to the Hag Witch being highly evasive and her use of elemental attacks that'll pressure Jack to dodge by jumping and moving side to side. Going from being the hunter to the hunted, Jack must survive against the IMAKANDI warriors. First appearing in episode 22, Jack and the Hunters, the IMAKANDI are a lionine race that Aku enlisted by promising to quench their thirst for the hunt, stating that Jack would be the greatest prey they ever could hope to pursue. These lion-human hybrid warriors pop up sporadically as you make your way through Aku City. Now originally I wasn't going to count the IMAKANDI as a boss since they act more as beefed up henchmen that'll rope-a-dope you to death, but with other sites stating that the IMAKANDI are indeed classified as a boss, I'll add them to the count. Transitioning to a more locomotive setting, we have Jack taking on Josephine and Ezekiel CLENCH. First appearing in episode 29, Couple on a Train, Josie and ZEKE CLENCH, as they're nicknamed, are an American bounty hunter couple who have attempted to collect the bounty on Samurai Jack as he traveled through the West. Definitely the most unique boss fight in Battle Through Time, as this encounter plays more like a 2D Metroidvania, where Jack has to fight both bounty hunters at the same time, while they're placed on opposite sides of the train cart, which from a gameplay standpoint limited Jack's mobility when it came to avoiding attacks, and the added stress of constant pressure from Josie and Bozo the cowboy. Rumbling midway through the ruined city is Scaramouche's Golem. Appearing in the first episode of Season 5, this rock titan was created from the city of rubble by Scaramouche, Aku's top android assassin. Now the golem is massive and looks intimidating at first glance, but once you experience the boss for yourself, you'll quickly realize this stone giant's slow movements and predictable attack patterns are quite simple to overcome. After dismantling the golem, Jack must then confront its creator, Scaramouche. A recurring villain of Season 5, Scaramouche the Merciless is an android who claims to be Aku's #1 assassin, with his weapon of choice being his magical voice, and uses a flute to amplify his powers, allowing him to levitate objects and create golems to fight opponents. As a boss, Scaramouche is a troublesome adversary to deal with, seeing that he has the ability to break Jack's weapons except the magic sword, as well as summons minions to his aid similar to Demongo. Venturing into the snowy forest and through the ruined tomb, Jack must face off against the Daughters of Aku, a group of 7 human-demon hybrid women who were born and raised by their mother, the High Priestess, for the sole purpose of killing Samurai Jack, with Ashi, Jack's future lover, being one of them. The Daughters of Aku pop up frequently throughout the level, with Jack killing 6 out of the 7 sisters in-game. The first being a one-on-one fight deep inside the ruined tomb, recreating the moment when Jack realizes the Daughters of Aku are not robots after slicing the sword-wielding daughter's throat. While the remaining 5 Daughters are killed off outside in the snowy forest, with Jack having to fight them all at once, which plays out similarly to how you fought against the IMAKANDI warriors, where the Daughters of Aku fight more like high-level enemy types rather than bosses. In the aftermath, Ashi is the only one left standing, but just as Jack tries to reason with her, Aku appears and pushes Ashi into Jack's sword.
Boring.
Man, Aku really loves making Jack suffer. Near the end of the prison ship mission, Jack must then take on the leech-infested Lazarus 92. Appearing in the 8th episode of Season 5, Lazarus 92 is identified as a deadly alien life form made up of a large colony of blue leech-like creatures that could merge to act as a single organism. Playing as Jack, you'll encounter this creature twice as you make your way through the prison ship. Pro tip, be sure to have X-29s equipped in your inventory, as these electric shock grenades are the creature's major weakness, otherwise Jack will get swarmed by leeches as the fight drags out, and end up being bug food. After clearing the prison ship portion of the second to last level, Jack is then transported to the robot graveyard. There he must fight against Ashi in her corrupted form. This alternate timeline version of Ashi is possessed by Aku, like the original Ashi was in the animated series, making this fight one of the more emotionally impactful moments in the game, displaying a true test of the player's skill set of what you overcome as Jack thus far, with corrupted Ashi performing a surge of fire-based attacks, as well as being able to project energy beams. The final boss of Battle Through Time is no surprise to anyone, the shape-shifting demon himself, Aku! Taking place at the top of Aku's tower, the final showdown between Jack and Aku is truly a blaze of chaos. Seeing that Aku uses his shape-shifting and other magical abilities to scorch the ground with pillars of fire, set traps, and grow to a gargantuan size. On top of that, Aku is assisted by an onslaught of shinobi, one of the more challenging enemies to deal with in Battle Through Time. By my count, there were a total of 13 bosses in Battle Through Time. Every boss was defeated on Samurai difficulty, which is the standard mode of this game, with the exception of one boss, the Mongo, specifically during the Soul Collector's final encounter in Aku's Tower, which I defeated him on Jack difficulty, which is equivalent to easy mode. As previously stated, this game is a lot harder than it looks at first glance. Think of it as like Sekiro made for kids. And if you're not well equipped before stepping into a high threat level situation, you'll be in for a rough time. Overall, the bosses in Battle Through Time have a great variety of adversaries to go up against, as well as presenting more of a challenge as you progressively move forward in the game, with most bosses being fun to fight against, and in some cases stressful to tackle as well. Also, each boss felt fair and highly rewarding to beat, especially when countering and dodging attacks at the right moments. That being said, it's a shame the Pig Sheriff wasn't a boss in this game. He's always had a way with words that would move one's soul.
Couldn't have said that better myself.
So when it comes to the game's placement on the boss tier scale, I'm placing Battle Through Time in the B tier. When looking at the boss token awards, the Soulsborne award for the hardest boss fight goes to Aku, seeing that this was the boss that took me the longest to beat, with Aku's attacks being relentless and able to dish out heavy amounts of damage. And with the addition of having to fight off a bunch of shinobi too, this boss was certainly no walk in the park. The Great Mighty Pooh award for the worst boss fight goes to Mongo. Honestly, after the second encounter with the Mongo, I was getting tired of fighting him already. His moveset was the least interesting, had the most annoying dialogue, and he forced me to drop down in difficulty because for some reason the developers thought it was a good idea to have the Samurai's item shop on the floor after fighting the Mongo instead of before, making me ill-equipped to properly prepare for the onslaught of heavy enemy types the Mongo summons to his aid. The Bowser Jr. award for the easiest boss fight goes to Skarmusha's Golem. Not gonna lie, I thought the Golem would have put up more of a fight, because for a giant monster made of concrete, the Golem was surprisingly not very durable, as I defeated the Golem in under a minute with plenty of resources to spare. The Golden Pickaxe award for the most creative boss fight goes to JOSIE and ZEKE CLENCH, as this encounter diverges from how the rest of the boss fights are set up in game, by taking a 2D Metroidvania approach to combat, restricting Jax's mobility, and having to take on two highly aggressive adversaries simultaneously. The Ultimate Showdown award for the best boss fight goes to Ashi in her corrupted form, as this fight felt the most balanced out of all the bosses in the game, with the emotional stakes set up for Jack and Ashi before and after the fight being well executed. Plus, I find the corrupted form of Ashi to be the most spine-chilling and badass design in the series. And there you have it, that's the end of the latest episode of the Boss Recap. Let me know your thoughts on Samurai Jack Battle Through Time in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, it really helps me out. Subscribe for more content from me on the Boss Recap, on DMLX, and I'll see you in the future.